If you ask me, what does She Who Dares stands for? Leadership, power, impact. Easy. 3 words, 100%. That is what the essence of who I am, everything I stand for, every course, every masterclass, everything I've ever created for any woman, my one-to-one work, my business mentorship, those are the 3 words. That is the work that I do with every woman, no matter what. It's about helping her to remember her fucking power, remember who the fuck she is, so she can lead herself through all of life's bullshit that life is going to throw at you. Welcome to the She Who Dares podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Wilson, the founder of She Who Dares. I'm a specialized breakthrough and mindset coach, business mentor, online course creator, and your #1 no BS hype woman. I'm here to remind you who the fuck you are and reignite your personal power through powerful and expanding conversations on all things business, mindset, and energetics to help you break through to your next level of success in all areas of your life, business, and bank account. Each episode is designed to expand your mind, shift your identity, raise your frequency, as well as give you success strategies to help you step into your highest, most powerful, abundant, successful, and magnetic you. So, I dare you to join me each episode, and I double dare you to implement what you learn and go all in on you. All in on your life, your business, your success. Because if you do, like so many of my She Who Dares clients and students, you will become everything that you know deep down you can be. Ready? Let's friggin' do this. Welcome back to the She Who Dares podcast. It's your girl, Krystal Wilson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Last week, I shared with you guys about a big breakthrough that I recently had when I was at my mentor's business retreat. And that big breakthrough was releasing myself from feeling like I had to hide that I was no longer making multi-6 figures a year in my business. And since then, I feel like so free and I feel so excited to talk about it because it's actually been such a big part of my life the last 2.5 years in business. And I kind of in my mind had this idea that when I got back to multi-6 figures, then I would absolutely teach about it, talk about it, and share, all the ins and outs and all the things I navigated and all the things I learned and all the things I implemented and how I got back to multi-6 figures. However, that would be a bunch of bullshit and a really disingenuous way to teach. And it's not actually how I usually teach. I very much share the BTS with you guys all the time and on my socials and on my email list and with my clients. But this particular thing, I just felt like, what would people think about me if they knew that I was no longer doing multi-6 figures? Which is so interesting now that I've just said it and it's out there and I'm creating content about it and I'm speaking about it, because it's actually quite laughable that I almost diminished my own 10 years of building online businesses and all the success I've had down to the last 2.5 years, or late 2022. That meant that I was no longer successful. And I feel a little bit sad for myself. Not in I feel sad for myself, more just, Krystal, you deserved better from yourself than that, to diminish your success and everything you've done because your business is no longer turning over multi-6 figures. And I think I mentioned it in last week's episode. There's a multitude of reasons as to why that particular year for me, 2022, I was coming off the back of my biggest years in business. And I was having a really tough time. I was having a lot of personal things going on. I was doing a lot of deep therapy and a lot of stuff was coming up from my own childhood, my own relationship with my mum, my own relationship with my father, which I don't speak about a lot. And there was just a lot coming up. And I feel like the veil was lifted in a lot of areas of my life. And for the first time ever, I saw things really clearly. And so personally, I was navigating a lot. I was in my 7th year of failed IVF. I turned 40. That was really difficult, like turning 40 and not having a child and not have accomplished that, and the weight and grief and heartache and all the complexities that come with that. So there was a lot of personal stuff going on, but now I can see so clearly why the business was not sustaining the level of income. Obviously, I couldn't hold it. You know what I mean? I had so many other things going on, and I had forgotten about me as the foundation of the business, because all of these other things are going on and all of my strategy and success started to leak through the cracks. But I can also see very clearly why, because I had a lot of success, but I didn't build a sustainable foundation. And so the last 2.5 years has very much been about like fixing those potholes, those bottlenecks, and creating those systems. And, you know, I'm really good at creating success. I'm really good at creating money. I'm really good at building momentum in my business. That if you're not building like systems and a foundation to follow, you cannot sustain the success, because eventually it will fall through the cracks. And that's exactly what happened to me in 2022. And so I've been reflecting a lot around the last kind of like 2.5 years and like what I've actually learned. And so I want to share with you guys today, like the biggest and most greatest gifts that have come from this really difficult time that I've navigated over the last 2.5 years in business and in my own personal life. And those 5 kind of lessons that I want to share with you are based around me. So number 1 was the level of self-trust that I have been able to build in myself, forced to build in myself. And there's no way that I could have unlocked and built this level of self-trust within my relationship with myself if I had not have navigated what I've navigated over the last 2.5 years. When you're so far backed into a corner with no plan B, with no one who can help you, you just have to dig deep. There's no one coming to save you. And that's very much what it felt like to me. I felt so suffocated by the situation that I was in and so alone. And then, holy shit, I can't talk about this. I have to just get back there and, you know what I mean, do my best. It unlocked a level of self-trust within me that has made me unstoppable. I truly now, I've always backed myself. That's evident in my 10 years in business. However, losing what I would call it all, going through what I did in 2022, which had such a big, profound impact in my business, in my income, in my level of success, it just unlocked a level of self-trust with me. No one can fuck with me. No one can fuck with me because I back myself and I trust myself, and I have had to get myself out of really tough and difficult situations in my business when I had no self-belief, when it felt like I had no self-trust. I had to build those things back up when I was in the worst state, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. And so that has built me a version of me that I didn't even know was possible, which is super cool. And number 2 is actually abundance. You know, I've shared a lot. If you've done my courses and things like that, I share a lot. I grew up in government housing. I grew up with parents who are, you know, blue collar, hard workers. Neither of my parents finished high school. I am the one breaking the mold in my family. I'm the one who studied the most. And it's not been easy. It's not been easy to do something that hasn't actually been modeled to you. And my parents are incredibly hardworking people. And in fact, watching them just navigate all the things that they've navigated in their life. And my parents are both really young. My dad had me when he was 20, and they were navigating some really big, hard stuff at 20 years old when they had me. And so it very much feels like we've all grown up together. There have definitely been times in my life as the eldest daughter of young parents who are very much Aussie battlers, where times are really hard. So I've not grown up with a silver spoon in my hand. I've not grown up with a plan B, security, financial security, any kind of financial support or help before I was legally able to work. I started working because I had to contribute. I had to work. Me not working the minute I was able to work was not an option. Do you know what I mean? I had to work, and I've been working since I was like, I think you had to be 14 and 9 months in Australia, and I started working around 14 years old. And I have started to repeat those same patterns. I mean, my first job at 14, I didn't just have one job. I had 2 jobs. I worked after school. I worked weekends. And up until I was kind of 26, I would work 2 to 3 jobs. I worked all the time because I had a drive. I wanted to be successful. So to also unpack like why I saw my business no longer doing multi six figures as such a huge and detrimental failure was because I have worked so fucking hard my whole life to make something of myself when that wasn't really modeled to me. It wasn't modeled to me. It wasn't an option. Oh my God, my parents are the most enthusiastic, encouraging people who'd give the shirt off their own back. But they had not done those things. And so what I'm saying is I've not grown up with money. I've not grown up with that lifestyle. I've watched my parents struggle financially most of my life and still now, do you know what I mean, as adults. So we've all grown up together. As the eldest daughter, I feel like there have been many times where I've raised my parents as much as they have raised me, and we're like a team. They would probably fucking hate me saying that, but that's the truth. That's my reality. And so abundance for me is really interesting because I personally don't believe that you can know abundance when you have everything. I think that abundance, like the true essence of like really understanding what abundance is, comes from having nothing. And, you know, when I reflect on the times that I've traveled to privileged countries, like beautiful countries like Vanuatu, they are the most beautiful, giving people. I worked in villages and helped build a school in Vanuatu in 2019. They had nothing. I mean, huts, mud huts, and dried palm leaves for the roof of their house, like nothing. And they were the happiest, the most abundant, joyous, grateful, beautiful people that I've ever met. And so for me, abundance doesn't come from having. And I think there's almost like this miseducation around what abundance is. It's not an abundance of something. It's the abundance of knowing that you have everything and you have nothing and you're still abundant. And so I know abundance, but I feel like I really learned it in 2022. I knew it, but I unlocked a deeper level when I felt like everything was stripped away from me. Because in the stripping of everything that was stripped away, and a big portion of that was what my business success, I really felt like my identity, like I was just stripped down to the rawest parts of myself. And I had to face parts of myself that I didn't even know were there. And I had to rebuild my identity. And so for me, abundance, you can only really know abundance through that stripping away from having what feels like nothing to you, whatever that is. And it's in that darkness of nothingness, of feeling like you're nothing, you've lost everything, you're a failure. That's what I felt like, that I truly was able to unlock abundance and have such a deeper level of gratitude, abundance, appreciation, thankfulness. And this is where the self-trust piece comes in as well, because I had to trust myself to figure it the fuck out. And I did figure it out. I'm still figuring it out. And in that trust, I also had to trust that I would be okay, that I would make money again, that I would have success, that I would get out of this like survival mode that I was in. And I had to trust in all of that. And through that, I found a beautiful and deep and profound relationship with abundance. I feel so secure now, and I really trust. Like, I know that everything is going to be okay. I know that I'm going to be okay, that I will figure it out, that I trust myself. I know that money comes to me. I know that I only have evidence of money always finding its way to me. And that's not something I've learned as an adult. I mean, that's something I learned as a child. I watched my parents work so hard and struggle, and it was very feast and famine. Sometimes they had money, sometimes they didn't. And money was the number one stress factor in our household, the number one reason that everyone fought. And everyone was in survival mode. I grew up watching my parents in constant survival mode, but losing what my own identity and the success that I had built, and not realizing how much of my own worth I had attached to that success, unlocked abundance at a whole new level. I feel so grateful. I'm more grateful today than I've ever been before, which actually leads me to number 3, which is gratitude. Now, I feel for me personally that when we're winning, when money's flowing, when sales are coming in, when success feels easy, because I've had many years of that, the truth is when I reflect back now, I actually wasn't grateful. I was entitled. I was complacent. I truly believe that the number one reason why my success went back was because I became complacent and entitled. I don't come from entitlement. I don't come from complacency, but I had so much success so quickly, so easily, that I didn't really build the proper foundation to hold that success. And I just thought this is always going to be this easy. And then I always say in business, everything works until it doesn't. And then all of a sudden shit stopped working what felt like overnight. And that was really fucking scary. So it's easy to be grateful. It's easy to be grateful when everything's going your way. But true gratitude is really understood and built and fostered in darkness, when you cannot see a light at the end of whatever tunnel you're in. It's in those moments where you really need to anchor into gratitude and trust and abundance, all the things we've already spoken about. And that's where it's really fostered. That's where that relationship's truly built, because I definitely thought I was being grateful, but I can see now, no, I wasn't. I was complacent and entitled. And what I can see now, having navigated what I've navigated, even if I look at my IVF journey, like, whoa, I mean, my miscarriage earlier this year, I was angry. Oh my God, I was so angry. I was so angry. But I quickly turned that anger into gratitude. The gratitude gives me peace. The gratitude gives me freedom from the heaviness of the grief. Because the truth is, there are reasons that I can be grateful for my miscarriage. And I even did a post about this. The baby that was developing, the embryo that was developing wasn't well enough. That's why we miscarried. I believe in timing. So even though I've spent 9 years doing fertility and it hasn't happened, even though people have started businesses in the last year and blown up 10x than I ever have, I truly come back to my belief system, which is I believe in timing. I'm going through what I'm going through, navigating what I am navigating, because this is who I'm meant to be. This is my path. And I can be grateful for that, because I'm building me. I'm building me, and I'm building my wisdom. I'm building my frameworks. I'm building the way that I teach and my nuances and how I can lead others. I was actually driving today and I was listening to a podcast on my way to Pilates, and they were talking about like what are like 3 to 5 words that would encompass your brand. And straight away I knew what those were. So personal power, leadership, and impact. They are the 3 brand words for She Who Dares. And when I think of personal power, leadership, and impact, those are 3 really fucking powerful words. You don't create personal power, leadership, and impact through just getting everything you want, when you want, and how you want it. So like, I truly believe like the essence of who I am going through everything that I'm meant to build the version of me who embodies personal power, leadership, and impact. And so just circling back to gratitude, you know, when you lose everything, and some of you right now listening are going through your version of my 2022. It feels like you're losing everything. It feels like you're so far backed into a corner that you don't know where to go. You feel alone. I remember sorry, I keep getting sidetracked, but I remember in 2022, like I was so lost and so in such unfamiliar territory that the biggest thing that I needed, I just wanted someone to hold me. And I mean, I have that with Bruce, but the thing that I was craving so much was somebody just to hold me and tell me that it was going to be okay. Because for the first time ever in my life, I am so strong and so resilient, and I just get the fact I get up and I keep going. But in 2022, I lost that part of myself, and I didn't have it within me to tell myself that it was going to be okay, which is what I've always been able to give myself. So that was just a really interesting thing. So maybe I'm that person for you, whatever you're navigating right now, you are going to be okay. You are going to be okay. You just got to get back up and you just got to keep going. You got to keep following the breadcrumbs. You got to find that light, become that light. Even if you're in the darkest tunnel that you've ever fucking been in, I promise you're going to be okay. And I know that was something that I deeply needed in 2022. And it's interesting now when I have friends or family or clients and they're in their dark tunnel, that's the one thing I remind them, you're going to be okay. And you know how I know you're going to be okay? Because I was in that same dark tunnel navigating my own version, and I did not have any hope left that I was going to be okay. Did not think that I was going to survive 2022. And I did. And I'm okay. And I got back up and I kept going. And so when you're stripped of everything, this is truly where gratitude stops being like this fluffy affirmation that we throw around and it becomes part of your survival. Because for me, anchoring down into the depths of my gratitude when I felt like I had nothing and I had lost myself, I'd lost my business, it was over for me. Like finding gratitude in that moment made me unstoppable. And now I am the most grateful that I've ever been. I don't take granted for anything. There's no more complacency. There's no more entitlement. I know that success and building a business is hard work. And at any minute, things can fall over if you're not fucking on top of it. And this is why, again, like this gives me deeper teaching. Like I'm about to launch my mastermind, which is She Who Dares in Business. And it's 2 phases. Phase 1 is build the woman. Phase 2, build the business. Because if you're trying to build a business where there's cracks in your foundation and you are the foundation of your business, you're just going to keep losing that momentum. It falls through the cracks. The success falls through the cracks. The money falls through the cracks. And I have been that version. And I've worked really hard to fill those cracks and build a solid foundation so that I can then build a sustainable business, which is exactly what I'm doing. Now, if I hadn't have gone through what I went through in 2022, I wouldn't have that wisdom, those teachings, that framework to now help and teach other women. So let's now go to number 4, which is resilience. Holy fuck. Like I am resilient. Losing what felt like everything taught me that I'm not only resilient, but I'm also resourceful. And I think being resourceful is such a fucking power move because I feel like when things are really hard and you're navigating some really hard and heavy shit and it feels like you're lost and you don't know which way to go, you don't know where the light is because there's so much darkness, to be able to become resourceful in darkness, in depression, in fear, in scarcity, and be resilient and resourceful, it's like, whoa, move over. Nothing or no one can hold me back. And just like you, nothing or no one can hold you back if you can be resourceful and resilient at the same time. And I think resilience for me, like I've always been resilient. I had to be resilient. The minute I was born into this world, I had no other choice but to be resilient because of the circumstances in which I was born into, the family in which I was born in, my childhood, the things I've seen, experienced. Like resiliency, I've been resilient since day dot. It's in my DNA. But I have also proved to myself that it's also something you have to keep working on. There have been plenty of times where I've been knocked out and I don't want to get back up. 2022 was one of them. I didn't know how to get back up. It was the hardest that I'd ever been knocked down. And not because it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was just a really interesting mix of all these big areas of my life that were really important to me. The veil was lifted. Things came crashing down mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, really quickly. And in the process of that fucking crash, I was on the floor and I was like, I actually, for the first time ever, don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I've never felt this way. I've never felt this much fear, this much sadness, this much grief. It was just like everything caught up with me and knocked me the fuck down. And I did not want to get back up. I wanted to lie on the floor. I wanted to be a puddle. I wanted to cry. I wanted someone to save me. I've never, ever wanted anyone to save me. I've never even had that thought or as an option. I've always known from the minute I was born into this world that I've got to save myself. No one is coming to save me. It's always felt like that. And so to find my deeper level of resilience in that moment, again, made me pretty fucking unstoppable. And so through that, I started to build myself brick by brick, layer by layer. And that's when I realized, holy shit, I really can withstand anything, as can you. And then the last point I want to make today is leadership. It's easy to lead. It is easy as fuck to lead when everyone's clapping for you, when everyone's buying, when everyone's celebrating you, when everyone's commenting. That's so easy. That's not where leadership is born. True leadership is leading yourself when everything has crumbled to the fucking ground and no one is clapping and no one is buying and it's no longer easy and you don't know which direction to go, that's when true leadership. If you can lead yourself through those moments when it feels like it's tumbleweeds and where did everyone go, that's true leadership. Leading when everyone's clapping for you is cheap leadership. That's not true leadership. I'm talking about self-leadership, like leading yourself through that discomfort of, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know who I am, but I'm going to stand the fuck up and I'm going to get up and I'm going to do one foot in front of the other. I'm going to put my shoulders back and my head high. It gives me goosebumps. That's true power. And that's where true leadership is born. And truly, if you can't lead yourself through those moments, that you really have no business leading anyone else. If you ask me, what does She Who Dares stands for? Leadership, power, impact. Easy. 3 words, 100%. That is what the essence of who I am, everything I stand for, every course, every masterclass, everything I've ever created for any woman, my one-to-one work, my business mentorship, those are the 3 words. That is the work that I do with every woman, no matter what. It's about helping her to remember her fucking power, remember who the fuck she is, so that she can lead herself through all of life's bullshit that life is going to throw at you. Because, I mean, life's, and my version of all the different things that life has thrown at me, and you have your version of all the different things life has thrown at you and going to continue to throw at you. But it's like my favorite quote, how hard can you get knocked down and then still get back up? And how quickly can you get back up? That's true leadership. And sometimes leadership doesn't look like getting back up. Sometimes leadership looks like I'm going to stay down here for a little while. I'm going to face what I need to face. I'm going to feel these emotions. I'm going to rest. That's also leadership. It's not always about getting back up and pushing through. Leadership is knowing when you're bullshitting yourself and calling yourself the fuck out, and also knowing when you actually need to rest and you need to nurture yourself. That's true leadership. As I've mentioned, I had to lead myself out of the darkest tunnel that I'd ever been in 2022. And it made me a really resilient, grateful, trusting, powerful, abundant leader that I am today. So if you're listening to this episode and maybe you're on the floor right now, maybe you are having your version of my 2022 and it feels like it's all over. Maybe you don't know who you are. Maybe you're struggling mentally, emotionally, physically, financially in such a way that it has knocked you at your core. And you are, like I was, feel like your identity of everything you thought you were no longer exists. I want you to know I've been there. And I say this with my whole heart, this promise that this is not your end unless you decide it is. You are still in control. You can get up and you can take one step in the right direction. You can get up and you can start building brick by brick. This is not the end, I promise you. And you will be okay. You absolutely will be okay. I am evidence of that. And I promise you in 2022, I did not know I was going to be okay. But now I'm here a couple of years later and I'm sharing this story. And I'm sharing it because I don't want you to feel as alone in your darkness as I did. You are going to be okay. This is not your end. This is actually the beginning of everything you want. And I know it's so hard when you're in it to like think that. Like I did not think that in 2022. In fact, I might have told you to fuck off if you told that to me in 2022. So if you want to tell me to fuck off, you can do that too. But please, it is the beginning of everything. For me, when I look at life before 2022, I had the evidence that I could do it. I lost it all. And now I built myself in a different way. And now I am the most aligned, most powerful. I may not be the most successful yet that I've ever been. I've had more success, but I'm definitely the most powerful that I've ever been. I'm the most aligned. And I know myself more today than I ever have. And in 2022, I felt like I lost every part of myself. And so wherever you are, if you're on the floor right now and you're listening to this, get back up, take a step. I lead, the universe follows. That quote makes me emotional. I actually think I created that quote just before, I think it was 2021 when I first started kind of like, I wrote it in my own journaling and I started, saying that quote and became known for the quote. I lead, the universe follows, and I move, the universe moves with me. And it's actually really quite interesting that it happened before I lost everything and I lost myself. And that became my guiding line. That it's like, I have to keep moving. I have to keep leading myself, even though I don't want to, even though I feel lost, even though I don't know who I am, even though I've lost all my hope, even though all that strength, all that power that I thought I had just gone in an instant. I had to rebuild it from the ashes. That's what it felt like. I know the language might sound dramatic, but for me, honestly, that's what it felt like. And I'm using this big language in this way because I want you to understand like how difficult it was, because I don't want you to watch me and not have the whole fucking truth. I don't want you to watch me because I'm about to build, like, my business is moving again in the right direction through hard work and dedication and showing the fuck up. And I am going to have a lot of success. And I don't want you to watch me have that success and not know where I've come from. I don't want you to watch me and just see that and think that, oh, it's just all easy. Hell fucking no, it's not been easy. This podcast episode is so important because of where I'm going. I never want anyone to think, and my promise to myself and to you and to people who've been following me from day dot and the new people that are going to come in, is I'm always going to give you the whole truth. And what I've experienced these last few years is actually so important, because I would not be able to go where I'm going next if I hadn't experienced it. So whatever you're navigating right now, it's your chance to prove to yourself just how powerful you are. And I'm here also. The work that I do is to help you to remember who the fuck you are. Because in 2022, from the ashes, I had to remember who the fuck I was. And I had to rebuild my relationship with myself, my identity. And I've actually blown myself away. And I want you to blow yourself away. I want you to blow us all away at just how powerful you are and what you're going to be and who you're going to be and what you're going to create. Because it doesn't matter where you are right now, you can change it just by getting back up and leading yourself. I lead, the universe follows. When I move, the universe moves with me. It all starts, begins, and ends with you. I'm sending you so much love. I hope you felt this episode. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. If you loved this episode, be sure to share that with me by leaving me a review, and head over to the She Who Dares official Instagram account at She Who Dares Official, hit follow, slide into my DMs, and share with me the impact this episode has had on you. And before you go, I'm going to leave you with this. The universe is responding to you. It is following your lead. You are the one who has to move first. And when you do, the whole universe will move with you, because it's I lead, the universe follows. When I move, the universe moves with me. That is our official She Who Dares mantra. I want you to write it down, put it on a mirror, and I want you to remind yourself of it every day. When I lead, the universe follows. When I move, the universe moves with me. When you follow this She Who Dares mantra, you are going to unlock the magic of the universe, and you are stepping into your most powerful self. I can't wait to see you for the next episode. Thanks for being here.